There comes a moment, often quiet and subtle, when something deep within you begins to stir. It doesn't arrive with instructions or clarity. It whispers, persistently, that the life you are living no longer reflects who you are becoming. This feeling may start as a vague unease, a restlessness you can't quite name. It doesn't mean you're broken. On the contrary, it's the first sign that your soul is expanding beyond the limits of the life you've outgrown. At first, the shift is almost imperceptible. A job that once fulfilled you now feels empty. Conversations drain you, and places that once felt like home start to feel suffocating. You begin to ask questions you've never asked before. Is this really all there is? Why do the things I used to love now feel hollow? These are not symptoms of they are the early tremors of awakening your inner self, demanding a life that's more real, more alive, more aligned with your truth. The tension lies in the fact that change, especially internal change, is rarely comfortable. Humans cling to what's familiar, even when it no longer serves them. So we distract ourselves, numb ourselves, or double down on what we know, hoping to suppress the discomfort. But restlessness will not be silenced. It grows louder, more insistent, until you're finally ready to listen. And when you do, you begin to see how the structures of your life, the beliefs, habits, and identities you built were meant for a version of yourself you've already outgrown. They once served a purpose, but they cannot contain the fullness of who you are becoming. As you evolve, these old containers begin to crack. What used to feel safe and meaningful starts to dissolve. Relationships shift, passions fade, all distractions no longer work. You find yourself floating between the old and the new, no longer who you were, but not yet who you're becoming. This in-between phase can feel isolating. You may feel guilty for wanting more. You may worry that you're being selfish or ungrateful. But you are not alone. Every soul that awakens walks this same uncertain path. It is not a crisis, it is a sacred initiation. The restlessness is not a problem to be fixed, but a truth to be honored. As you surrender to this process, you'll begin to experience a quiet, yet powerful shift. You'll start noticing the dissonance between your external life and your inner reality. Things you once tolerated now feel unbearable. Pretending, performing, conforming, they all become exhausting. You no longer have the capacity to betray yourself for the sake of belonging. You begin to speak more honestly. You listen to your intuition more carefully. You stop apologizing for what you feel or for who you are. With this inner clarity comes loss. Relationships that once felt essential begin to fade. Dreams that once motivated you lose their spark. You may feel like everything is falling apart, but what is really happening is a sacred unraveling. Life is removing what no longer resonates with your truth. These disruptions aren't punishments, they are invitations. Life is clearing space for what's coming next. You may try to hold on to, force the old to remain, but the more you resist, the more suffering you create. Letting go becomes an act of love. You begin to understand that what is falling away isn't meant to follow you into your future. Guilt dissolves, resistance softens, and in its place, a strange sense of freedom emerges. As the old attachments fall away, something new rises in their place. A deeper sense of knowing, not intellectual certainty, but soul-deep clarity. You no longer need validation from others to trust your path. You no longer chase belonging, you become belonging. You realize that real power isn't loud. It's quiet, rooted calm. It shows up when you choose peace over reaction. When you walk away with grace, when you honor your boundaries with dignity. This is the birth of sovereignty, of alignment. You are no longer swayed by every opinion. You no longer abandon yourself to be liked or accepted. And from this inner alignment, everything changes. Relationships deepen. Work becomes more purposeful. You stop chasing goals that were never yours to begin with. You become willing to be seen even if it means being misunderstood. And eventually, you notice that what once triggered you no longer does. What once wounded you no longer has power. You see pain for what it is. Not a punishment, but a portal. You understand that much of what hurt you was never about you. It was about the fear and blindness in others. And now, you are no longer willing to carry their projections. You are no longer available for what diminishes your light. You no longer shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You do not seek revenge. Your healing is the proof. Your peace is your answer. Your presence speaks what no words ever could. This is the silent revolution. The one that begins inside. The one where you stop running, stop performing, stop betraying yourself. This is when you finally come home to yourself, to truth, to wholeness. You do not need to force the next chapter. You only need to surrender to it. And when you do, life will rise to meet you in ways you never imagined. Because everything you've ever longed for, isn't somewhere out there. It is what you've been quietly preparing for all along.